God is relating with us at the level of joy. Joy is of the Spirit. And that's why you see the fathers of old, even in persecution, they're full of joy. They've known something deep. But when you start teaching joy, where there are babes, they will think God doesn't want them to prosper. They have not grown. So fellowship has to be a different level of maturity. But when the church is not really interested in developing people, but is interested just in gathering people, raising offering, becoming big, people will never grow. And that's why you see that people's process and progress is scattered.
Very true.
There's no coherence. There's no coherence in the
We don't graduate people.
We don't graduate into reality. You see? And that's a serious issue. We can't have fellowship.
So it means we should have Monday, new believers service. Then maybe on Wednesday, you have a certain class of people you teach. See that?
Every spiritual reality communicates has different cadence. For example, if I'm teaching a young believer about prayer, I know he has challenges, a lot of challenges. I can teach him how to use prayer to deal with his challenges. He's a young believer. He has house rents to pay. He has sicknesses to deal with. He has a lot of needs. I can teach him prayer from that plane. And when you pray, you exercise God's authority to deal with your circumstances. He has demons to cast out. But when I'm dealing with a mature believer, I can't be talking about casting out demons. Demons don't exist in his realm. He's a tormentor in the demonic realm. If I'm talking about to a mature believer about prayer, I'm not talking about circumstances.
Never.
He doesn't pray for his circumstances. He commands them to be. When I'm talking to a mature person about prayer, I'm talking about ministering to the Lord. I'm talking about transformations, translation, transfiguration. I'm talking about becoming more like Christ. That's why Jesus separated 3 disciples from the others. He took them to the mountain, and the Bible said, he prayed. The fashion of his countenance was altered. His raiment began to glister. That's prayer at another level. But when Jesus came to the multitude, he said, when you pray, pray after this kind. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. And he ended it by, give us this day our daily bread. You don't teach Peter, James, and John, give us this day our daily bread. You will ask Peter, lovest thou me more than this? Keep my sheep. When you meet Peter, you are talking about matters of transfiguration. You are teaching Peter how that you can become the visible expression of the God that you worship on earth. And that's why Paul said, this is my prayer, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, that I may be made conformable. That's prayer at another level. But when you come to church every day where 70% are babes, you cannot but teach prayer that addresses needs. And people can mature, they will be there forever. And every time you begin to talk about deeper matter, it looks as if you are making Christianity complex. But the truth is that when you come to the higher realms of spiritual realities, you will have to deal with the mysteries of the kingdom.
So there's the 70, there's the 12, and
of course,
3.
of course.
In
That's the graduation. There's
They
actually the 500 before you have the 70, before you have the 12, and then you have the 3, and then you have the 1.
The 1. Yeah.
Now understand why Jesus will tell this group a certain thing and he will say, don't tell the rest.
Don't tell the rest. Do you notice that when they came from the Mount of Transfiguration,
Yes.
Jesus told the 3 disciples, he said, tell no one.
Tell no one.
About this. Jesus.
Even including the rest disciples.
Including the other disciples, don't tell them. It will destroy them. That's fellowship. That's how Jesus organized his fellowship. Jesus organized his fellowship differently. There were 500 people he ministered to after the multitude, and then there were 12 that he takes aside, and then there were 3. Even up until the last night in Gethsemane, he still separated the 3. Then he went further. That's how you raise people. It cannot always be about crowd.
This is the pattern.
It cannot always be about crowd. No, it can't.
I now begin to understand why it's in the crowd you always find the miracles of Jesus.
Of course.
But when he began to live with his disciples,
You don't
it's
see
called
any
that he
miracle.
rarely did any miracles.
No
He
miracle.
only
No
taught
need.
them.
He brought them into spiritual knowledge.
Sir, could this be the mystery behind the pyramid? Why it starts from the top to the base?
Yes, you know the pyramid represents a lot of things. Different spirits use different spirits.
Yes.
But it's a pattern in the spirit.
It's a pattern. Okay.
Right? The more important, the narrower it becomes. It's a pattern. But when you use the pyramid classic, every spirit uses it. When you meet a sorcerer, there are levels of intimacy where everybody can come to. So that pyramidal operation is there, but of course it's a sensitive word, so I wouldn't want to use it, but that's a pattern. That's the party. That's what every spirit does. And so spiritual promotion is not what you have. It's where you are. It's not what you have. It's where you are. And you'll be shocked that sometimes when you start going up, the things you have becomes the body. That's why you notice that when men truly become free, why do you think a herbalist lives in the bush? There are other spiritual possessions that are more important than cars. A man can be with God for 3 months, he has not come out. So how can you be telling that man about the latest mall or the latest car? How many times will he drive it?
Exactly.
He has found another obsession. As far as he's concerned, in fact, if you read the Bible, you will not hear about the tent of Moses.
Never.
Moses is either on the mountain
Or in the temple.
or in the temple of the congregation. The level, the intimacy level, he has been drawn. He has been won over by his spirit.
So God allowed him to live his life for 40 years. After that, he sold out.
So
That's very.
we don't know. When you see what happens, it shows that we don't know spirituality, because our own idea of spirituality is what we have.
That's it. God told me one day, he said, the problem with your generation is that there are no masters. I said, he says, he said the goal of our fraternity with God as a spirit is you are brought into it, you are discipled, you become a discipler.
Yes.
So because from what he taught me, spiritual heritage are passed on. So if I have a spiritual heritage, once I'm going to be with the Lord, I should pass it on to a disciple. That disciple pass it on, so we preserve it.
Yes.
This thing we call mantles, we are trying to look for mantle. We should know it should have been something we inherit because of our walk with the Lord. We understand. So after we are going, we now trust it to other faithful men.
You trust it.
So if you want to know the oracles of God in the prophetic, I can bet you in this earth, maybe there are not up to 5 prophets you can meet that will teach you the precepts.
Because this is not a gift.
Yes, sir.
This is not a prophetic gift.
It's not a gift.
These are the
Office.
the ordinances, the covenants, the secrets of the prophetic that a man has as a token that he inherited. If that man carries it, he can pass it. That's not just the manifestation of that gift. He carries it. So he walks in a prophetic element, in a prophetic atmosphere. Everything around him is prophetic because he carries that color. These things are no longer there. And if you check, the reason the world is becoming more worldly is because true spiritual knowledge is leaving the earth. Men are no longer in possession of things. In the days of the fathers, you knew where to go to. If you go to Ramah, you will find the prophetic headquarters. Prophetic angels are there, prophetic ordinances are there, prophetic covenants are there, prophetic men are there. It's a civilization. So even if you enter Ramah with an evil intention, that atmosphere can arrest you. But you see, true spiritual knowledge is beginning to vanish. You see that? Because we are not communicating truth. We are just doing sensuality and sensationalism. But unfortunately, in the negative, it is being preserved.
True.
If you come around a shrine, there is a quiver that will come upon you. You will know that evil spirits and demons, they dwell here. But I assure you today, go to most of the churches we have, they look like theaters, modern day theaters. The hallowed presence of God, the Shekinah, that should tabernacle there and by implication affect the territory is not there. If you go to a brothel, you will know. Seduction, you can interact with it. Because these things are experientially communicated. But you see, we don't have oracles being handed down. Our altars now is just a glamour ground. It's like a theater. I'm not against excellence. God loves excellence. The tabernacle of gold had gold everywhere. But there was the Shekinah that sat on it. Our churches look like theaters. But in the days of old, the prayer that will be sung there before you enter the temple, the prayer, they can sing prayer in a church before it is dedicated for 8 months. Every day, 12 hours. A prayer chain is going on because they want to make that place a portal When you pass where Abraham had his altars,
Ah.
even if it's after many years, there is a portal there.
Ah.
Even if you break the temple, you can't change the atmosphere there anymore. They sank it there.
Ah.
Today is not so.
So I feel, you know, God is, I don't know, there's a breed of people God is, I feel, raising that, you know, they are just, look at John the Baptist, for example. God told me that the reason why John the Baptist was with camel's hair and a leather belt was that he had stayed so long in the cave. He didn't know what was trending anymore in the cities. So when he came back, he didn't know that they were wearing Gucci and Fendi and the thing. But you see, our generation now, you want to check out a man of God, what he wears, how is he dressed, how into I follow God. When God told me that, he told me, he says, priests are not celebrities. You know, today go on social media, you see many pastors, you know, what they post is
From head to toe. So pastors have even become models.
Yes, sir. Ambassador.
brand ambassadors.
Brand ambassadors. Because their followership, they use them as brand ambassadors. The shirt, the watch, the trouser, the shoe, everything Gucci.
Jesus.
And he flaunts it. You are seeing him deliberately. A pastor is on live program. He's adjusting his watch so that you know.
You can see it.
If the watch is not
Exactly.
coming, you literally
There was one I saw, this was how I sat down, trying to make his belt.
open belt.
Sir, I saw it too. Yes.
Because of that.
Like he was, you could see him positioning himself doing like this, so that you could see the belt he was wearing.
Some is gold. They will put 5 gold, put some on it. The gold becomes a distraction. I'm not against excellence. I stand for modesty. I'm not saying dress like Elijah, but at the same time, don't become a descendant of Jezebel. Modesty. God loves excellence. He said, make garment for Aaron, for beauty and for glory. God is not against it. But when it becomes your emphasis, and it shows that your pride anchors on it, your value anchors on it, it becomes a burden.
See, this thing you said, Apostle, the one that I keep asking myself. You see, in those days where you hear about a prophet or a rabbi, you had a congregation around him of disciples.
Yes.
Coming with scrolls to learn
Yes.
from the foot of an enlightened man.
Yes.
You see, so that is where this whole church thing, you know, aside, you know, coming to fellowship, coming to, you know, bring yourself to God, you just have a teacher. The Bible said the disciples of Jesus will gather around and he will teach them things pertaining to the kingdom, spiritual things. Now, in our generation, you don't even have, even people that God began with in a certain way, they grow to a point they systemize everything.
Yeah, they have to change it.
So you cannot even travel to Rama, like he said. You don't. There's no. Where is there any spiritual location where someone can travel? You know, like the Buddhist monk, they have holy temples where people will leave civilization.
And every temple represented a dimension.
A dimension, yes. So they have temple of this. That's true. That's true. That's true. So you don't have those kind of places where people can leave civilization.
The truth is that we're actually not really making progress in light. So, how do I know? You can pick a pastor from a church here and send him to Kuwait to disciple anybody. That means the reason he's succeeding in ministry is because he already knows how we do our thing. And so if you do it like that, you promise people a good life, put in some packaging, do this, do that. If he goes to another place, what he's sharing doesn't have power to convict and to transform. He just have a language that is common to the people. So we don't have witnesses. I'm telling you, we don't have witnesses. Or when you carry reality, anywhere you go to, you deal with the heart of men, not the psyche of men, not the sociology of men. So most of the pastors, in quote, we can't succeed outside our sphere. And even in our own sphere, we go to where it is easy.
Very true.
Because you claim that your gospel have the power to change people. Why is it only succeeding in city center? If that gospel can make people prosper, go to the villages.
Go to the villages and make
and
them
let that
prosper.
gospel make people prosper. So it's actually not the gospel you are preaching. It's the economic situation, the influence of government around that place that is making people prosper. If people come to give testimonies just because they respect God, it's not your gospel. Because your gospel can only prosper people in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. You can't prosper people in Sokoto. You can't prosper people in Jikawa. You can't prosper people in Meduguri. No, it's not your gospel that's prospering men. It is the environment, the commerce,
the opportunity
of the environment, the opportunities in the environment, the influence of government in the environment that's prospering people. And this same gospel that you say is making people love God cannot make people in the city center that are pressured by the environment to love God enough to leave the pressure of that environment. But those who are in the village that don't have distraction, they are more spiritual. Those who are in the city center, you can't find it. That means even the transformation of your gospel does not have power to engender it. Because if your gospel can engender transformation, the transformation will not be among the poor. But when you come to the churches, those who are vitally involved in the economy, you hardly find them have time for God.
But it's the poor people that are committed, they're the ones that pray.
So you cannot truly affirm that our gospel is the one prospering people materially. Neither can you affirm that our gospel is the one prospering people spiritually. Because those who are poor and living in less pressured environment are more spiritual than those who are living in pressured environment. When you say you are preaching the same gospel, if the gospel is what is doing it, then the effect among the poor should be seen reduced among the rich. And then if you claim that your gospel is the one prospering people financially, how come it's only affecting those who are in environments that have more opportunities than those who are in environments that don't have opportunities? So when people just honor God with their offerings and testimony, it's because they love God.
So it seems as though in quote, the prosperity ministers are actually called to the rural areas. If
truly your gospel can. And that's how it was in the days of old.
Yes.
When you see the missionaries of old, even the ones who came to Africa, we lived in poverty.
Yes.
Environment. They go to villages and they begin to establish schools, establish institutions, and open the place up.
In the name of the gospel.
Their gospels truly empower territories. That's why you see that most of the nations, like the nations in Nigeria today that are big, they are nations, they are states that missionaries had strong effect.
Yes.
Like Calabar,
yes.
like Lagos, these are missionaries change things here. I know that of course some bad elements came in eventually just to take advantage of, to do slave trade and all of that. But the missionaries entered villages and turned villages to cities. So you can truly affirm that their gospels change things. But check our gospel today. You can hardly find all our big churches have their influences in villages. Apart from, of course, few of them are doing a great work. I don't want to start calling names, so it doesn't look as if you are citing them. A few of them are doing great work, building roads, building schools, contributing to electricity, power, and all of that. They're doing a great work. But to a very large extent, many people are just shifting monies to Swiss accounts. When you know people that know people, you'll be amazed what is happening.
Swiss accounts.
The church in Meduguri is still trying to send money to headquarters in Lagos. But Paul didn't function like
Jesus Christ.
Paul took from the church that was prosperous to the church that didn't have.
Yes.
In the days of the apostles, there was none among them that lacked. But today, the church in Sokoto, the church in Meduguri, you are still taxing them to send money to headquarters. I'm not against sending your tithe to the headquarters, but I'm talking about true kingdom distribution system and equity. If there is a conscience of righteousness, things shouldn't be the way it is. You have so much abundance that they are storing money for generations. Meanwhile, there are other parts of the nation where the same churches are suffering.
That was a pastor that belongs to a church. He's a branch pastor in a rural area. He cried to me, asking for financial assistance because the headquarters wanted to celebrate the birthday of the Papa. And they now gave this church that's still managing a target. Yes, they gave him a target.
So I was shocked. Honestly, I honor many ministries in Nigeria, many big ministries. I see what they do. some build schools, some build roads, and they're doing a great job. But I'm also saying a large majority of ministries truly are milking and tasking territories where they should, if there is righteousness, if there is equity, they should channel the resources of the ministry to.
I mean, you've done a lot of missionary work in the North.
Yes.
And you will now discover that the North really needs assistance.
I went to Maiduguri with you.
Yes, that's what I
We
went.
preached. We had to give them.
You rejected. You even
They were
yes, I was there.
We had to give them money. The little we had. Because on it, and I don't even blame some of these churches. These men of God don't go there.
They don't go there.
They remain in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Calabar, London, US. They don't go to the north. If you go there, it will prick your conscience. I'm telling you the truth. If you go there, it will prick your conscience. You can't go preach in Maiduguri and take on a radio. Simple to or Gombe. When we entered Maiduguri, you could literally sense death and terror
Around the atmosphere.
everywhere. I knew it was a sin for us to take. We had to pay for our flight to return.
Yes.
I paid for our flight to go and come back, and we sold seed to them. If we truly go there,
We don't go there.
I'm telling you.
All our apostolic invasions, we avoid all those places.